yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. I want to say welcome to episode 654 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's get into episode and welcome Charles Bishop as well as AD Drew on the show today. With that being said, Drew, how are you doing today?
Oh, one of them days, Doc. One of those days. A lot of stuff going on campus in my arena. It's amazing, and I think it's because of my athletic background. What you can pivot and get done in 24 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours. And then when you get into what you had to pivot and put together in about a 72-hour period, the things that you're able to pivot and get done on the fly as things were being done, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. We had a commercial shoot on our campus today in our arena. Nice. Nike and Hibbett came to Morehouse and shot a commercial for a summer line that they have coming out. Problem was, Dr. Cavil, we didn't find out that somebody had signed the contract for this shoot until Thursday evening at 4:15, which meant you spend all day Friday finding out the details, because that was just a conversation like, I'll get you more information when I get more information. So Friday you get all the details, and you got to start shooting out emails and phone calls to everybody who's involved with something like this: security, facilities, internal staff, et cetera. Well, we ain't got coaches right now. Don't forget that. But anyway, but
that's an important point.
in the midst of all this, the one thing, Dr. Cavil, that the people who signed the contract failed to do was contact us to see if the arena was even available.
Oh wow!
And the thing that was there that they didn't know, we scheduled our athletic banquet for Monday 3 months ago. They didn't need to know that. They didn't need to know about that day. That was an internal day, but they leased the arena out without checking with us, because there's no way we would schedule a banquet on Monday and a commercial shoot on Tuesday without adequate time to break down from the banquet and then get set up. So you talk about a banquet ends at 9:30, you're there till 11 o'clock, breaking tables down, and people who normally don't break tables down, breaking tables down and chairs and stuff. My back is here to tell you about it. And then coming in the next morning, pulling the flooring up. I'm sorry, Dr. Cavil. Y'all don't want to hear all that, but just one of them days, Dr. Cavil. And then
Yeah, we certainly here.
After
One of those days,
right in front of the gym as I get ready to leave to come home to do the show. And then the final straw that broke the camel's back, when they get home and turn on the computer, the computer decided he wanted to do one of them automatic updates. One of them days, Doc. One of them days.
And you are still here.
And I'm still here.
Still got everything off.
With a smile on my
Everybody
face.
know just how talented you really are. Charles, with that being said, how was your day?
Well, not nearly as exciting as AD's, but it's a good day nonetheless. But now that we're in post-draft coverage, it's good to get back to a little bit of baseball. So looking forward to talking some baseball and everything that is going on in and around HBCU sports. So.
You're right, because I'm talked out of the draft. I didn't know anybody else's show and anybody else that gave me a call and asked my opinion. I've done that, so I don't have to do it here. Y'all just gonna have to filter through all the other stuff. That's right. I'm rooting for every HBCU. I love it.
Everybody to make sure he sees this. This is not a Southern shirt. I'm rooting for every HBCU.
Good stuff. I like it. I would like to ask you this, Charles. Thursday we talked about having the commissioners there, but on Friday at the HBCU HBCU Sports Ecosystem Series, if you would, symposium. What were your thoughts on Friday when we had a mix of the ADs, VPs of athletics, as well as some entrepreneurs, others involved in sports, whether the faculty athletic reps of that nature? What were your thoughts? Even had John Grant there. We had Mike, who can't do. Somebody put out there like Mike can't get to a show, but he's up here.
Well, it was good that Doc, you were able to bring all those luminaries in HBCU sports in under the roof over there at Texas Southern. But I thought it was fascinating just talking about the ADs and having Alabama State's and Alabama A&M's AD on a panel together, especially looking at all the cooperation that they do with regards to the Magic City Classic. I thought that was fascinating. I think whenever we get an opportunity to go back and look at that stream, I want to look at that some more because I found that fascinating, just the amount of collaboration, and then taking a look at the business environment of not just Magic City Classic, but then talking to Anton Goff and Dr. Granger about the collaboration that they do with Texas Southern and Prairie View, and kind of getting a look behind the curtains, if you will, of just how much collaboration they do and future collaborations they intend to do with regards to Texas Southern and Prairie View. So I thought that was really fascinating when you kind of take a look at sort of the inner workings of the ADs and really how it is almost familial. And they talked about that in terms of the way they go about structuring their business dealings and partnerships and things of that nature. But all in all, I mean, the HBCU symposium was fascinating when you talk about Dr. McClellan and some of the things that they wanted to do in the SWAC, as well as John Grant and some of the ideas that are coming out that will be out there in front of us with regards to the Celebration Bowl. But to have that amount of elite Black thought in one spot was fascinating. So I'm looking forward to going back and taking a look at that stream.
Yeah, when we get a chance to release that, we will have some breaking news that a lot of those folks put out there that even had us a little bit like, oh, did we?
You're right. I had a more
point. The discussion on NIL by Ashley Robinson, the other Icon Exchange, as they put that together, HBCU Icon Exchange, the first program with the influencers. A lot of good information. Drew, you wanted to follow up with some thoughts?
Yeah. Actually, two questions. Number one, the collaborations that you were talking about, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Texas Southern, Prairie View, is that something, and I'm asking this as a Division II HBCU institution, is that type of collaboration something that can be replicated? I won't say duplicated, but replicated on the Division II level, and even with our NAIAs with their rivals. That would be question number one.
Charles, you want to give your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think when you take a look at and I go back to Dr. Granger and Anton Goff in terms of what they were talking about with especially a classic like the Labor Day Classic. I was really fascinated in terms of and I think I said this earlier, just looking at how closely they work together, and I was thinking then I could easily see how teams that have rivalries, how they can sort of use their collaborative efforts to go out and solicit sponsorships or solicit business partners to partner in with whatever their particular rivalry game is. But the relative ease at which it can be done. So it's just something that I hadn't really thought about in terms of, you kind of think from a rivalry perspective, you have this group over here, this group over here, and how it was just very interesting to watch how they both intermingled to make the success of the game even bigger than what it is. So I can see how it could easily be kind of replicated.
Yeah. Well, I think this is an excellent question and one that is extremely important, particularly in the current environment. The more synergy, which is really the impetus, while your question is even more important than you may have originally put it out there to be. I don't think it's just the rivalries. I think it's across the conference. It's within these HBCU spaces where it makes sense. But certainly, you would have to believe a Dillard, Xavier, New Orleans has the opportunity to replicate this in some fashion. For them, obviously, basketball, they do a little bit of it, but even more so. Baseball, now that they have the programs, certainly when you talk about Clark Atlanta and Morehouse, to your point, there's an extremely important opportunity for them to collaborate. And they have the multiple sports to do it, adding in football along with baseball and basketball to do those things. And then obviously you can step out of that. We see some of that collaboration between Grambling and Southern. That can be heightened up in a way. One of the things that were unique in talking about the Alabama ADs, that they're moving it beyond just the sport of football. You see it also in terms of, to some degree, with Prairie View and Texas Southern with Granger and golf. Their focus is on football to try to get that up right, but you could talk about other things that they're looking at doing beyond that and outside of the sport itself with ancillary events of how to make it work. Obviously, you're very familiar with what has taken place with FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, particularly in the football game in terms of that Florida football classic, Florida Blue Florida football classic in terms of what takes place there. So you're absolutely right. We see even the burgeoning of new opportunities with Tennessee State and Alabama A&M, 4-year framework of what that looks like. So it seems like it's right there on the surface. I'd like to see it taking place even more so, but it'd be fascinating to see what that looks like, even if it's Jackson State and Alcorn State, to name those two that we're most familiar with, A&T, North Carolina Central, to name some other, Norfolk State and Hampton, or some other ones still at the Division I level. But excellent point when you asked that. Yeah. I did want to take this announcement, a lot of affinity for this, so we'll take a moment of silence and then go on our break and come back on the side and get back into it. But the HBCU basketball legend and NBA champion Dick Barnett dies. This is released coming out of the HBCUsports.com. One of the greatest HBCU players who made an impact in the NBA has died. Dick Barnett, who was a critical part of the New York Knicks 1970 and 1973 NBA championship team, died Sunday at 88, 6 months after he was finally inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. So glad that he had that honor before he became an ancestor. Wish it would have came a little early so we could have had even more time to celebrate it, but the fact that he was celebrated while he was still with us certainly is important. The native of Gary, Indiana, Barnett was recruited by Tennessee A&I, now known as Tennessee State, as you all know, by legendary coach John McClendon, and helped the Tigers win 3 consecutive NAIA national championships from 1957 to 1959. We always like to put out there that this was before the UCLA dynasty. The Tigers were the first HBCU team to win a national college basketball championship. After college, Barnett played for the Syracuse Nationals of the NBA and then the Cleveland Pipers of the ABL before catching on with the Los Angeles Lakers. He averaged 17 points per game in 3 seasons with the Lakers before being dealt to the Knicks before that 1965-66 season. Barnett played the rest of the career with the Knicks as a veteran presence, guiding the team's nucleus. Fellow HBCU legends Willis Reed, Walter Clyde Frazier, and Bill Bradley outside of the HBCU to great success. He averaged 18 points per game in the 1970 NBA Finals, in which the Knicks defeated the favored Lakers in 7 games. He was also a part of the Knicks 1973 team, which beat also the Los Angeles Lakers. In 14 NBA seasons, Barnett averaged 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. Following his NBA career, he earned a doctorate in education from Fordham University and taught sports management, Charles, at St. John's until his 2007 retirement. Barnett finally received a Hall of Fame call in the spring of 2024, more than 50 years after his final NBA game. He previously been inducted as a member of the Tennessee A&I National Championship team to that Hall of Fame, but this time he was inducted as a player. With that being said, I'd like to take a moment of silence and say to the ancestor, rest in power, Dick Barnett, legend. With that being said, Drew, if you would, take us to a break. But before we do that, I do want to add one different thing I should say is Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders are already hit with the NFL fans. HBCUGameDay.com, many of us thought this, but their shirts and jerseys, rookie jerseys, are flying off the shelf. Imagine that. With that, let's take our first break and come back on the other side.
It's like a loot machine. Going around town, trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil. We're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is on assignment, so we have none other than AD Drew. Fascinating about what's going on here. Let's talk about the SWAC baseball standings. Let's get back a little bit of this baseball. Some interesting things took place this week. One of the biggest ones was Pine Bluff. Took 2 out of 3 at home from the still number 1 team. That's Bethune-Cookman. Shrank their lead a little bit there. Thought that was fascinating. Prairie View went to Alabama A&M and got the sweep. First couple of games were close, but that was outside of that. Southern woke up, and while the first game was close, went to extra innings, they were able to get the next two games and get the sweep for themselves. So that's going to make an interesting rake in the standings there. FAMU got back on the winning side of things as they took 2 out of 3 from Grambling, lost the first game, and then were able to bounce back and get that Saturday and Sunday tilt. I thought that was interesting there. Jackson State got a one from the Braves over there. So Jackson State certainly need that, and they actually took 2 of them in terms of took place, and they played the third one. They did get it in. They played it on Monday. So Jackson State gets the sweep, 3-game sweep over the Braves. So that's important. So let me get to it. Let's get into the rankings, if you would. I'm going to kind of break this down in a couple of categories so you can let me know where your thoughts are on this. I'm going to take the first 2 that I think they're pretty much solid, that they're outside of the top 8 in the SWAC. I'm not sure if they can even make a run. You got the Alcorn State Braves that have lost 6. They're 1-20 in the conference race and 6-33 overall. Alabama A&M that played a couple of good games, got some big wins that kind of shook some people and played some close contests, but they've really fallen on hard times now. They're 2-9 in the conference race and 10-32. So I'm going to lead besides them and then go to the next 2 that are chasing maybe the next 3 teams in terms of trying to find a way to get into at least that 8th seed, which is Mississippi Valley and Prairie View. Valley sits at 6-15, lost 3 straight games. A tough one for them because they had a chance to really make up some ground on Southern. They were not able to do it. And you got Prairie View. They got themselves at least back in the mix of things. They won 3 straight, and they're 7-11. And so they're outside of that mix of these 3 teams, if you would. That's Southern at 10-11. Again, as I said, they got the sweep over Valley. Jackson State won 6 straight, including the sweep over the Braves. They're at 11-10. And then you Arkansas Pine Bluff, that I think is surprising a lot of people. They do have that 3-game series that was rained out by Prairie View. It's going to be interesting how that might play into things. But they sit at 11-7. They lost 1 game today, but they did take 2 out of 3 from, as we said, the first 2 games actually against Bethune-Cookman Wildcats to lead the conference. So let's talk a little bit about those sectors and see what your thoughts are. Again, we can bypass Alabama A&M and Alcorn because of how far back. But Charles, what are your thoughts on these next 5 teams in terms of what this looks like in that mix of trying to close out the season or make some rooms for that 6, 7, and 8 seed, I guess you would say?
6, 7, and well, I think it was a big weekend for Southern. That was big for Southern to get the 3-game sweep over Mississippi Valley and stay, above the Mendoza line, if you will. Talk about, that 7-8 slot. So watching them going down the stretch will be really interesting because this is a huge series for them this upcoming weekend against Texas Southern. When you take a look at what the Jaguars are going to do. I take my hat off. I know we were talking about them, but we got to talk about Pine Bluff and what they were able to do this past weekend against Bethune-Cookman. That turned my head big time because normally I take a look at those Friday starters, the aces of the staff, and for Pine Bluff to go heads up with Tanner Bocabello, one of the better pitchers in the SWAC, that spoke volume. So, those are, Golden Lions, they could be a kind of a scary team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think at this point you have to keep an eye on. You get 2 out of 3 from the number 1 team. How can you not ignore them? It's going to be interesting where they get seeded in terms of how they fall things out. As I said, the 3-game series with Prairie View is going to be interesting because it may be misleading in terms of how they are seeded based on the fact they don't get them in. Let's say they play those games, they get 2 out of 3 at home. Also, what's interesting in terms of when you're playing, they're starting to play better baseball now. They played that game earlier, they might have lost 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
He's playing better then, not so well now. Obviously, he got a big series. So it's always interesting when you look at those kind of things, at the timing of stuff. But I would like to get your thoughts on this as well, Drew, when you talk about that 5 teams there. Valley and Prairie View outside of the top 8 at this point. in striking distance, I guess you would say. Southern, Jackson, and Arkansas Pine Bluff clearly in that mix. They're trying to make sure they remain in that 6, 7, 8 slot if you talk about where they are right now. But also looking to see if they can get on the run and maybe push themselves up in the standings. What are your thoughts in terms of how these teams are playing right now?
What I think is going to be interesting, Dr. Cavil, when we look at that battle for number 8, Prairie View, I believe Prairie View has a tie. I know Prairie View has a tiebreaker over Southern.
Correct.
And I'm trying to remember if they have it over Jackson State or not.
I don't think they played Jackson State.
No, they don't play Jackson State. So that's going to be interesting on how that's going to play out for those last 2 slots.
They took 12-3 from Jackson State, remember?
Oh, they did?
Back when Jackson State came out, the fight that weekend.
Oh, yo, sure did. They played them in Prairie View. They did
Yeah.
take 2 or 3. So you were right, Drew. You said you thought they had it, and they actually do have the tiebreaker.
Yes,
over
they
Jackson.
do. I'm looking at it now, and let's keep this in mind. If Prairie View can handle their business the next 2 weeks, they are in a good position, as they have Alcorn State.
Yep.
That I mean, let's be real. That has to be a sweep.
Right.
That has to be a sweep.
Has to be. Right.
And then you've got Valley. You can eliminate Valley from the conversation yourself.
Yeah.
Or you open up the door for Valley. But you've got to be able to take at least 2 or 3 from Valley, because you really need to sweep, because you've got Alabama State at the end. So that's going to be an uphill battle for Prairie View at that point. But the fact is, if they can handle their business this week, they put a lot of pressure on Jackson State and Southern to get into the tournament.
Good point. Looking that far ahead, because you're actually right. And going back, and as I was corrected by Charles, and as you alluded to coming out before I push you in the wrong direction, they have the tiebreaker over Southern and Jackson State. And while they don't have the tiebreaker over Arkansas Pine Bluff, they're not losing it either, because those 3 games were not played. So they have a lot of advantages of those 3 teams in terms of what that looks like going down the stretch. So it's going to be fascinating. And you're absolutely right. This weekend starts a big 2-weekend series to give them some room to make up that ground that is necessary. Fascinating with that. Let's take this last part of this, and let's go into these top 5 teams where it's really jumbled up. But it's fascinating as these teams kind of chug away back and forth. Obviously, what was nice last weekend is those top 6 teams, including Pine Bluff, played each other, with the 4 in these first 4 that I'm going to mention: Grambling State, Texas Southern, Alabama State, and FAMU, that were tied in second place. Well, it comes out of that. FAMU, as I said, gets 2 out of 3 from Grambling, and Alabama State 2 out of 3 from Texas. So that sets it up with Grambling State sits at 14-7. Texas Southern sits also at 14-7. Alabama State sits at 15-6, and FAMU at 15-6. And then what now is, instead of a 4-game lead, is just a 2-game lead from Bethune-Cookman, sitting at 17-4, as they did go on the road to Pine Bluff. The Pine Bluff took 2 out of 3, taking those first 2 games, winning the series on Saturday before Pine Bluff kind of took it to them, got it taken to themselves, I would say, against the Wildcats on Sunday. Sticking with you, Drew, what are your thoughts on these top 5 teams? They clearly have shown they're the top 5 team.
Yeah, well, and I'll throw Arkansas Pine Bluff in there as number 6.
That's fair. I'll take that.
But and reason I throw them in as number 6, because, as you said, these teams matched up against each other last week.
Right.
No one swept. And I think we said this last week, although I'll tell you, I was honest. I was wishing for a sweep by Pine Bluff over Bethune for obvious reasons. I did not really anticipate a sweep, but you have to be happy with that 2 out of 3.
Oh yeah.
For what's going on down there in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And I think that kind of shows the parity amongst these teams where no one was able to sweep, and the games were competitive. It wasn't like it really, except for what Bethune did to Pine Bluff on Sunday, beat them 9-0. The rest of the games were fairly competitive. Now, here's the thing we have to look at, Dr. Cavil, and yes, I'm looking ahead. Schedule makers have favor FAMU. If you look at it, FAMU has the easiest schedule among these 6, while Bethune arguably has the toughest schedule among these 6. FAMU to close out the season. Alabama A&M. You do have Texas Southern is going to be a little challenge, but you have Alcorn to close out the season. Bethune-Cookman to close out the season. Check this out. You got Alabama State this week. You got Grambling next week, and you got Texas Southern the week after that.
Yeah.
That by far is the toughest of those 6.
Yeah.
That is the toughest schedule. While FAMU has the 2 bottom dwellers of the 3 series that they have to close out the season.
Good points.
You know, I'm just sitting here looking at the schedule, and you talked about sort of Prairie View kind of having the advantage going down the stretch. It could come down to Jackson State and Southern fighting it out for that 8 seed. And they play that last weekend going into the tournament.
And wouldn't that be so much fun?
Yes, it would.
And I don't care whether that's in Mississippi or Louisiana. That is one that you want to be at. And Charles, what's the security budget?
Yeah, you know what? That's at the crib. That's at the crib.
What's the security budget looking like for that game? Because you might need an extra patrolman or 2 for that game.
It better be hefty.
Yeah. Hey, Charles, you know something? And I'm turning it over to you. I just want to be the man who's out there. You remember the man who used to just sell the setups, sell you the ice and the cups? He don't sell you the liquor. He just sell you the ice and the cup. That's all I want to be for that one.
Yeah.
The ice and the cups. That's all I want to be, is that man for that particular weekend.
You got to wake up the right field lounge for that one. That's going to be a happy weekend.
Go ahead, Charles. Get your thoughts. Get in and get your thoughts.
Well, I think just going down the stretch, when you take a look at those top teams, I mean, obviously I love Bethune-Cookman's pitching, but to me, and although statistically it doesn't say the same because you have Jackson State sandwiched in there, but I think going down the stretch, I mean, when you take a look at Florida A&M, their pitching is right where, you would like for them to be at. They sit 3rd, I think, in the SWAC. Alabama State sits right behind them. But Alabama State has a good 1-2 punch right behind Florida A&M. When you talk about Jordan LeBoy, he's one of the better pitchers, I think. So I think just coming down the stretch, you talk about Japhet Martinez and Johan LeBoy are going to be a nice 1-2 punch for Alabama State going down the stretch in terms of making sure that they hold serve right where they are.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's take our second break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll look a little bit about the SIAC. We'll do the final standings, and we get to set that one up for the top 8 teams that are going into the tournament to see what that looks like. We might even sneak in and give you a little update on SIC softball. We can get into some HBCU AC as their season is complete and they get in the tournament at the same time the SIAC. So we'll get some little updates to see what those teams are going to be looking like as they get into the action. With that, let's take our second break and come back on the other side.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also, give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I want to get in here and give a couple of updates. I can tell you now that we have Fort Valley State that has made it to the championship game of the SIAC softball championship. So they're in the bracket. They're in the championship game. They will either face off against Albany State or Spring Hill, as those two teams are fighting out of the loser bracket. They will play to see who will face up against Fort Valley State. They got it done. Fort Valley State has defeated Lane 9-1 as they put themselves in position to get it done after beating Spring Hill early. So fascinating to see how things are going in the SIAC tournament. A little heads up there. With that, let's get back into a little bit of baseball. We're going to set it up in terms of the SIAC. We'll just look at those top 8 teams, if you would, to get into those brackets to see what that looks like. When you talk about those 8 teams, we're going to start with Tuskegee. They sit at 13-20. They are 5-5 in their last 10 games. 17-31 overall. They will get the 8th seed, which means they will get to face number 1 seed Spring Hill, which is 29-3, 36-12, 7-3 in their last 10 games. And then you have in the 7th seed, which is Lane, 13-19, 14-29. They are just 3-7 in their last 10 games. They will face off against Edward Waters that finished the season at 25-8, 33-16. They have won 8 of their last 10 games. They will be the number 2 seed, which gets us into that 3-6 matchup, which will be Miles at 6. 17-14, 23-1. They are 500 over their last 10. They will face off against Savannah State, the 3 seed, I believe, at 21-12, 26-20, 8-10.
Correction, I guess maybe a tie break. Miles is actually the 5 seed, and Benedict is the 6 seed.
Okay,
according to the bracket.
Good. No, we wanted to do the bracket. A little off in terms of their numbers here. I didn't look at the bracket. I'm just looking at the final poll. So,
yes.
So Benedict is that 6th seed, which means you will have a matchup between Albany State and Miles.
Correct.
Albany State comes in at 21-12, 26-20, and they have won 8 of their last 10. So those teams told you about Edward Waters doing what they want to do, Savannah State, to stay out. And we're fighting to try to stay out of that 4 seed. Those teams are able to do it, but you got that 4-5 matchup, Albany State and Miles. early on with Spring Hill. What are your thoughts, Drew, and what do you want to add to make sure that we lay this all out correctly?
Yeah, apparently, because I was looking at what you were reading, and I guess there are a couple of tie breaks, percentages, and everything. Lane is the 8th, so they take on Spring Hill, and Edward Waters takes on Tuskegee in the 7th. So I don't know what was lost in the translation between what the website says, because what you are reading is correct all off of the SIAC standings, but the bracket that they have posted is reading something different. Why not? Anyway, the team that since I have no rooting interest because my team is not playing, we do what we needed to do, and all fair.
I just like the way you break it down. It's I can talk about this now because I had no rooting interest. My team,
yeah, we young. Three of our top 4 starters are freshmen. So
what's tough is y'all just fell outside of that with Clark sitting at 12 and 21. So even with freshmen, you were right there at least getting a piece of the action and kind of feel what it meant to be in the tournament to you.
Yeah, yeah. But I think Edward Waters is probably the team that I think is best poised to be able to challenge a Spring Hill in the conference. Edward Waters has good pitching depth. One thing that you have to look for in these tournament situations, everybody, is your two-way players. Go look at those midweek starters because you're going to see that midweek starter at some point in time in these type of tournaments, these 3-4 day tournaments, especially if your team gets into the losers bracket. You're going to see that midweek starter. You're going to see that bullpen guy, that guy who normally Charles gives you 3-4 innings out of the bullpen, actually get you a start in these type tournaments. You have to have those type guys to win tournaments because it's about attrition. And I think of all the teams in the conference, not named Spring Hill, I think Edward Waters, from what I have seen, and I've seen most of these teams, is the best team that could do it. They hit the ball, they play the game right, they play good defense. They do all the other things, and they have enough arms to get through.
Interesting.
Good stuff. Charles, did you want to get in some thoughts, or did you want to follow up with Drew?
Well, I wanted to follow up with Drew because I out of the 3 conference losses, I saw Savannah State, Miles, and Albany State. But I was just curious about in terms of which out of those 3, and for me, it would have to be Savannah State and Albany State. But which out of those 3 could possibly give Spring Hill trouble in the tournament? But you went a different direction. You mentioned Edward Waters.
Yeah, like I say, I think Edward Waters is the team that can seriously challenge Spring Hill. Number one, the good thing is if things play out like they should, Edward Waters won't see Spring Hill until Saturday night. Mm-hmm. That's number one in the winners bracket championship game. Now, here's the question: can an Albany State push a Spring Hill and get their pitching out of whack that will help either Edward Waters or Savannah State or whoever comes out the other half of that bracket to face a Spring Hill in the winners bracket championship? That's going to be the thing. Somebody else is going to have to push Spring Hill early, because if Spring Hill it gets through these first couple of games, 12-0, 11-2, things like that, I don't care who comes out that other bracket. It's going to be tough because Spring Hill is going to be set up. But Spring Hill is beatable. But you have to have all your ducks in a row, and to beat a Spring Hill, you have to don't beat yourself. Mm-hmm. don't get, you can't have 4 out innings. If you when you have runners in scoring position with less than 2 outs, you've got to drive them home. Those are the type of things that you have to do against a Spring Hill in order to give yourself a chance.
Good stuff. I want to switch over before we take this last break and get back into your thoughts on some of these SWAC matchups this weekend, because it's fascinating. Y'all touched on a lot of it, but we can put some final points. So we'll stretch this out a little bit. We do have the HBCU AC baseball tournament coming up. And unfortunately, we got the announcement that the Black College World Series, at least from Michael Coker's perspective of what we put together, has been canceled officially today as the media release came out, based on—
I didn't see that.
Yeah, based on the organization's release, because of his death, to honor him and restructuring a little bit and moving forward to try to get things prepared for next season. This is basically going to be the last baseball we'll see at what we call the mid-major level in terms of these tournaments, other than a team can qualify for a tournament. Are there some other tournaments that may be?
The HBCU, the Minority Baseball Prospects HBCU Final Four in Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, good.
That will be going on base 8, 9, 10 in Montgomery at Riverwalk Stadium. It's going to feature Tuskegee, Morehouse, Miles, and Dillard. They kind of handpicked the teams this first year to get the tournament up and going. And then, as they said, as the tournament builds, it will actually come down to a selection process.
Okay.
So this year, it was kind of hand-picked invitational.
What are the dates?
Who are the 4 teams again?
Morehouse to day one. Morehouse takes on Dillard at 9 a.m. Miles and Tuskegee will play at 12 o'clock.
You have 3 Division II programs
and one NAIA. Then on Friday, Morehouse will take on Miles at 9 a.m., where Dillard and Tuskegee will take on each other at 12 o'clock. And these are central times that I'm giving everybody. And then on Saturday, there will be a consolation game at 1 o'clock central time. And then the championship game will be at 5 o'clock central time.
Good stuff.
And that's why this is so fresh in my head. I just released this from MorehouseAthletics.com, so you can read my release on that.
What's the date again? AD?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Is that 7, 8, 9?
May 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, 8, 9, 10, whatever Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are.
I got you.
Yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Is Dillard trying to sneak over there into the NCAA Division II SIAC world or something? You know what? How did they get the loan? NIA? Oh, well, never mind. Let me with that being said, let's get back into the HBCU AC. Speaking of Dillard and those 2 teams over there, they have an 8-team bracket in terms of the tournament. Seedings have not been released. I'm fascinated to see what this looks like. The tournament is April 30th. That's Wednesday, April 30th to Sunday, May 4th. It is in Che St. Vincent Field at Dickey Stevens Park in North Little Rock, Arkansas. So fascinating to see what that looks like. They have a straight up 8 field, but during the regular season, they break it down in the East-West. So I'm interested to see, are they going to take the top 4 teams out of each division or just take the top 8 records, period? We'll get some more information on that. But just so y'all see, if they go by the top 4 teams of each division, that will be Talladega sitting at the top. They most certainly are in 38-12, 27-3 out of the East. The top team in the West is Wiley. It sits at 32-15 overall, 24-6. So theoretically, the number 1 seed, if we're just doing by record, would be Talladega. Number 2 seed would be Wiley. In terms of their record, we'll see again how this falls out. The second team in the East has an overall record of 25-20, 21-9 in conference play, which is Stillman. While the second place team in the West is Dillard. Why I brought that up, they sit at 25-21 overall and 19-11. That's a 6.333 winning percentage, while Stillman has a 700 winning percentage and 20-9. So that would mean Stillman would be the 3 seed, while Dillard would be the 4 seed. But there might be a tiebreaker because you have Voorhees also at 19-11 and 633.
The 4.
The 4.
Yeah.
Also, you have the final spread.
Yes.
Good. So follow up with me. Make sure I get this right.
Yes, sir.
And then, so 4 seed is
Dillard.
Voorhees. Dillard.
Followed by
Voorhees is 3. So let's go back to third team in here. The fourth team in that East record-wise is 22-26, 13-17, which is Russ Charles. You have Southern University at 21, and that's New Orleans for those that don't recognize the NIA. 21-23, right? 16-14, so they 533. So they're certainly in. And then you have Tougaloo sitting at 21-23 and 9-20 overall. So, those last teams, Drew, give me the final bracket. Who's 4 and 5?
Looks like, and I'll just go straight down. Your 1-8 looks like there's Rust, and is this Wilberforce? Or is this I can't recognize the slow boys, or is it Philander? No, it's not Philander.
Wilberforce sits at 15-30, 11-19. Yeah, it's probably Wilberforce.
Okay, it's Wilberforce then. That's your 1-8. Your 4-5 is Dillard Voorhees. Your 3-6 is Stillman and Suno. And your 2-7 is Wiley and Rust.
Okay. So get in. All right.
I was gonna say, quick question. And I'm looking at this. Everybody, especially on the Division II level, plays a traditional 8-team bracket where you have the if game after the championship game, should the undefeated team goes, versus a conference such as the SWAC, or when the BAC used to have 8 teams just play the solo championship game. Which format do you guys favor?
I'm a traditionalist, and I've been so used to the if game for years. I enjoyed that, but now I've gotten used to the fact that it's on television, and I like the fact that it's on television, so I'm good with it. I can see pluses and minuses, but if you're gonna force me, as you did ask the question, I'm good without the if game. I like the television more than I like the if game.
Yeah, come on. How you tell me, Dr. Bill? Play the game, man. You gotta answer the question. Chuck, what about you?
Nah, I don't want the if game. Let's send it out once for all.
That because they got him on the clock. He's working now. So.
Oh man, my throat will be gone.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you why I don't like the if game. Pitching.
Yeah. I like that. You're exactly right.
Because if both those teams get to that if game, you might as well get ready for a 4-hour game, because these teams usually has pitching left.
Yeah,
you're right. So let's take a short break. We'll come out on the other side and we'll just talk about your final matchups for this weekend. What top games? I'll list them all, but you'll tell me 1 or 2 what you're looking at. We'll take the last break and come back on the other side.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Before we get in these games, I did want to shout out that Prairie View A&M has officially won the Western Division title. So they'll be the number one seed out of the West. And then FAMU claims the SWAC softball East Division title, the number one seed out of the East. We'll get in a little more in terms of the top 8 in the tournament and how that seeding will go out. We'll bring that together on Thursday. That being said, I did want to get into the matchups this week in terms of scheduling and see what these two gentlemen say that's going to have their eyes going into the weekend, particularly early on in the process. Start out, you have Southern traveling down to Houston. Those matchups are always interesting with Texas Southern University. That is a 3 o'clock Central Time to start things off on that first matchup. Then you have Alcorn State Braves coming to Prairie View, coming down this way, bypassing Houston to get down to Prairie View. You all alluded to that a little bit earlier in your discourse. You have as well Alabama A&M traveling to Tallahassee to face the Florida A&M Rattlers. That's a 3 o'clock Central game, 4 o'clock Eastern. And then the one that kind of has me pause a little bit, see what you all think about that, is Alabama State travels to the beach. We get down to Daytona. The Wildcats. Fascinating matchup, has top of the conference implications on the line as well. Then you have a red hot Golden Lions team, the Arkansas Pine Bluff. They travel to Grambling State to mix it up with the Louisiana boys, if you would. The G 6 o'clock game there. The Alabama State Bethune-Cookman game is 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern, just to make sure I gave you that. The last one here is Mississippi Valley State, Jackson State, 6 o'clock in Jackson, Mississippi. Speaking about Mississippi, we already pushed all the way to their late game of Southern, but they got a couple of games they want to get in before that. With that being said, I'm going to stay with you, Drew. What of these 6 matchups that take off this weekend in terms of the series, which one or two has your interest? Most interest.
I wanted to say my number one is going to be the UAPB Grambling series, with UAPB having taken 2 of 3 from Bethune at Bethune, took the first 2 from Bethune, and Grambling having dropped 2 of 3 in Tallahassee to Florida A&M. Will this be the Golden Lions continuing the momentum that they picked up last week? Or will this be Grambling righting the ship? And let's look at the last game. Pine Bluff lost the last game of the series to Bethune,
Right.
whereas and Grambling won the first game against FAMU, lost the last two. So, one in a row, two in a row on the wrong side. So I'm going with Pine Bluff in this series to take the series. I don't see the sweep, but I definitely am leaning towards the Golden Lions to take the series.
Fascinating, particularly when you say they're on the road. Another major statement if they can get that one. I like the way you think. Other matchups that you mentioned, I'm right on with you too. Charles, what direction are you going?
Well, I think when you start taking a look at, obviously, I think the marquee matchup is going to be Bethune-Cookman and Alabama State, especially when you take a look at the Friday and Saturday starters for both of those teams in terms of the pitching. What's very interesting to me, when you take a look at the bottom of the standings, you have Alcorn and Prairie View. Prairie View has a sweep situation this weekend versus Alcorn. Jackson State with Mississippi Valley is going to be a dogfight, but you could see Jackson State sweeping Mississippi Valley over the weekend. But it makes it.
Jackson losing 2 or 3 to Valley.
Say it again.
I could also see Jackson losing 2 or 3 to Valley also.
Interesting. And that's a great point. Valley's playing much better baseball, but it makes it a precarious weekend, I think, for Southern. Southern has to come into Houston and try to get at least 2 or 3, because when you take a look at where Prairie View and Jackson State are sitting, they are kind of in the catbird seat going into the weekend in terms of going against their particular opponents.
Good stuff. Good stuff. With that, let's call it a close for the night. We'll come back on Thursday and get you set up for a SWAC tournament, maybe get you some additional insights on some of these other tournaments, close out and see who's coming out the champion at SIAC softball. Drew, what else do you want the folks to keep going?
Quickly before we close out, CIAA softball also begins this week, Dr. Cavil. Their tournament begins this week. I just wanted to quickly go over that. Bowie State, number 1 in the north, takes on Shaw, who's number 4 in the south. And also in that bracket will be Lincoln of PA. No, Winston-Salem will be in that bracket with them taking on Lincoln of PA. Yes. Yeah, that'll be how that one goes. And in the other bracket, I believe you're going to have Claflin and Elizabeth City and Virginia State and Fayetteville State. So the CIAA softball championships, give me just a second. Let me click on it because they have not updated their bracket. The CIAA championship is scheduled April 30th through May 3rd. So that's coming up tomorrow. And they have not completed their brackets. I'm gonna leave that one alone. So
please do. Softball tournament for SWAC starts Tuesday, May 6th.
And, that's in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Also, Dr. Cavil.
Good stuff. So softball for SWAC is Tuesday, May 6th through Friday, May 9th. If necessary, game we talked a little bit earlier, Saturday, May 10th. That is in Gulfport, Sportsplex, Gulfport, Mississippi. With that being said, Charles, any final thing that you wanted to add? Tournaments? I know you're getting ready to get your chops going as you're going to call a big game this weekend. Imagine you're pretty excited about that.
Yeah. Looking forward to Texas Southern this weekend here at McGregor Park. You know, the wind will be blowing out to its familiar left field line, so we'll see what the offensive fireworks are at McGregor Park this weekend. Really quick correction. Arkansas, Bethune-Cookman was at Arkansas Pine Bluff. Thank you, Mom and Travis.
I'm sorry.
Mom was like, hey, I thought Pine Bluff was at home this weekend, so she follows baseball. Thank you, Mama, for checking in too. So
she follows all the sports. I love that sports fan. She's in it. She can't get enough of SWAC, HBCU sports for that fact. And any mom that follows at that level is a fan of ours, and we appreciate her for the support she has for the show inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We gotta make sure we give her a nice Mother's Day gift.
Mother's Day is next month. We need to take care of it.
Yeah, I know, right? We got Charles. we got to work that out. Make sure we get that right.
Make sure we got a swag.
I know you always do your own kind of thing, but we're gonna add a little something from the inside the HBCU
swag.
All
swag.
The men. We actually have women involved as well, but all of us in terms of the mother, if you would, of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We're gonna share some love. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, comes from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and A.D. Drew. We hope you enjoyed. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. So we'll be back on Thursday to give you an update. We look forward to giving you the latest news on Thursday. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, that's DrKenyattaCavil on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Drew?
Lecture.
Shout out to the All Sports Banquet at Texas Southern University as they celebrate. Heading that way. Dismiss.
Travel like.